What's up, Southwest Virginia? Welcome back to Beats, Brews, and Buddies, episode 12. I'm your host, Travis Schmidt, and this is
Jeremy Price.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, on our beat, or what we're going to talk about, starting your musical career here in the Valley, leaving and coming back, discussing what it's like to lead a group with more than 5 people, and finally, what it's like to teach and be a mentor with our buddy, Dan Keeley, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Keeley, give it up.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, exciting.
Coming and sharing. We appreciate it.
So, Dan, before we get started with the rounds of questions, we typically like to talk about what our brew is, because we are Beats, Brews, and Buddies. Jeremy, what are we drinking today?
Man, we stuck with classic, guys. We got Woodford Reserve. I haven't had this in a long time.
Actually, I haven't either, but this is a gift that Dan brings to me often to refill the bar. So I much appreciated, hence why I chose Woodford Reserve for you, Mr. Keeley. So cheers. Clinkety clink.
Can we do first day of summer?
First day of summer.
And
do
also, it's National Selfie Day.
It's National Selfie Day.
Yeah, we should take a selfie.
We will.
Point.
We will. But when we air this, it'll be in.
That's true.
We will be in August. So, happy future or past selfie day when we recorded this today.
Happy past first day of summer.
Happy past first day. So
we're getting used to all this.
We are. I know, because we recorded and then we
yeah, not bad.
Bring it out. No, you didn't know.
Travis tells me I'm reading the bio this time.
Today,
and he's like, oh, it's not a long one. I'm like, well, it's a couple of pages, so I'll be quick here. Dan's been around a minute. He's got a lot to share with us. Dan Keeley, a native of Roanoke, is a singer, songwriter, and composer, and is one of Bob and Nina Keeley's 15 children.
That's Nina.
Nina? I apologize.
Yeah,
Nina Keeley's 15. Let's talk about that. No, let's not. Let's save it. It's a long bio. 15 children. Wow. My dad was from 8, and that's or 7. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
They didn't have Facebook back then.
Three's a lot.
Yeah. He's been the director of music and liturgy at Our Lady of Nazareth Catholic Church in Roanoke for the past 28 years, where he directs choirs, composes, and arranges. Dan and his wife, Donna, have been married for 31 years and have 3 children, Brian, Laura, and Kate, and 2 grandchildren, Naomi and Samson.
Oh, yes, Samson.
I love that. I love that name. Dan attended Roanoke Catholic School. During his high school years, Dan was involved in a local music group called Sing Out Roanoke Valley, with other teens around the valley, in which he was a vocalist and pianist, and eventually directed the group. His degrees, with an S, include a BA from Roanoke College and an MA from Radford University in vocal performance. I didn't know that. Here we go with the surprises. Dan also has taught music privately, locally at several schools in the valley. Dan also completed the National Association of Pastoral Musicians Cantor Collegiate Certification in 2014. Congratulations on that. As I turn the page, Dan has performed all over the world in the international group Up With People, which consisted of 7 countries, 15 states, and 82 cities. Some major highlights from that tour included going to Jordan. I've been there as well. Let's talk about that. Yeah. To perform for King Hussein and Queen Nord. I have a friend named Nord. I'm having a good time. as well as playing with the Boston Pop Symphony Orchestra and with conductor Harry Ellis Dixon under the infamous Esplanade Shell. And
that's the only reason why I didn't want to read that bio, because I would have totally messed it up.
Did I get that one right?
You did.
Hey.
You did.
As well as numerous shows for thousands of people, including major dignitaries. Dan has played in several bands in California and Virginia. He has also performed many times locally in the Roanoke Valley at Festival in the Park and in numerous churches and civic functions. Dan has recorded and produced 2 CDs, which are entitled Internal Progression and Straight from the Book. Dan's compositions range in style from soft ballads to energetic contemporary Christian rock. During his tenure at Our Lady of Nazareth, Dan has composed several liturgical works, including 2 mass settings, psalms, and songs for major feasts, including the 80th and 100th anniversary celebrations. Dan's latest accolades include the winner of the hymn competition for the Diocese of Richmond's bicentennial celebration in 2020. Dan, Out
Yeah.
there.
That's
One more
cool.
paragraph, y'all. Dan is also, I'm in. Were you about to stop me?
No.
We're going
No,
to
no,
finish. Dan is also one of the founders of a local theater company, Logos Theatricus Productions. Since its incorporation, Logos's mission is to produce quality theatrical productions that entertain, educate, and enhance people's lives, as well as to raise money for local nonprofit organizations. In the last 20 years, Logos has raised close to $100,000. That's awesome. Dan has also acted in many musicals, including Jesus Christ Superstar, Grease, Godspell, and other plays with Logos. My busy new friend.
Busy new friend. He didn't really even talk much about his piano playing. It was mostly vocal stuff.
No, man. And before, since I have the floor,
No, do it.
there's a timeline of your
so
work
sorry.
here. My man done come in.
He
I
timelined
like,
it.
and you were talking about how this was cathartic putting this together.
Yeah,
And
totally.
and I'd like to do that, but I'm not gonna. I am not yet anyway.
It's truly beautiful because he not only maps out his musical career, but his life career as well with his family, and in his several different jobs. And we're gonna talk about that tonight. So again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dan Keeley to Beats, Brews, and Buddies. Nailed it.
All right.
Nailed it.
I didn't know that was the one,
But
and
you
I always
got it.
want to.
You got it. I'm so
Jeremy,
proud
you
of
did a great job, and
Thanks, guys.
it's just I don't know. I've been blessed in my life and the path that, really, that I believe that God has kind of shaped for me, throughout my lifetime. So it's really cool how this thing that I learned way back in my life kind of helped me with the next stage and so on and so forth all the way up till today. So that's why the timeline is so important.
Well, judging by your bio and the timeline, it's nothing
Yeah.
you need to believe at this point. I mean,
Oh, no,
you've
it's-
served exactly how you should have served,
Yep.
as it reads.
And for me, most of the people we've had on the show, I've had some form of connection or played with, or just a random conversation. There's been one or two guests that I just hadn't known. So just so the audience knows, Dan is one of my mentors. We all know that Jeremy is one of my other ones. I would say I have three. Tim Gallion, who Northside High School, and his brother Danny Gallion, starting my musical career with reading music and learning music. Dan Keeley is the other who gave me guidance and an opportunity. And I'm going to talk a lot about opportunity. We're going to talk a lot about opportunity because Dan gives a lot of opportunities to younger students and parishioners and people in this valley, an opportunity to play and try out their instrumentation, whether it be a musical instrumentation or vocally. And I think that's really neat, and I've got to experience that. Our music production manager over here, Ryan Hunt, he is also one of Dan's mentees. So
Get on that mic,
yeah,
Ryan.
you can talk.
Hunt.
You're
It's
Check,
a
check, check.
rarity.
you're good.
I'm on here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Hey.
Ryan would not be the instrumentalist or the musician he is today without Dan Keeley. In
Well,
my opinion.
I don't know
So-
about
Agreed.
that.
No.
Nope.
I definitely
I vouch for Travis.
No, definitely believe that. So, and that, which leads me to my first question. You've given many local artists an opportunity to start their playing career, including my own, at the church. Talk to us and to our listeners about the importance of our 4 C's, which is community, culture, collaboration, and chemistry, as a mentor, a choir director, and a private lesson teacher.
Sure. Well, obviously, I was born into a community of brothers and sisters, and my parents that they gave us every opportunity that we possibly could imagine to succeed in our lives. So, kudos to them. Just trying to find time to spend with each one of
There's
us.
15 of them, people.
Yeah,
15.
And I'm number 10.
Yeah.
I'm number 10. So before me, there were 6 girls and 3 boys. And then starting with me, there were 5 boys in a row. And that's when my mother said, all hell broke loose.
It did.
And it did, obviously. And then my sister was born as number 15, and she was called the princess. Of course. But anyway, getting back to what opportunities they gave us. They paid for our education. We all went to Roanoke Catholic School. So that was first and foremost for my parents. The most important thing that they could give to us was our education. So really, I'm thankful for that. But what were their hopes? You know, we already know what their sacrifices were. I mean, it's not cheap to go to private school.
Sure.
You know, and then moving on to college. You know, even so. You know, so I really think back about what sacrifices they made because they saw something in all of us that they felt like they could help. You know, and so we could achieve. So that was cool. Other family members who were musicians. My grandfather, he was the first music director at Our Lady of Nazareth.
Really?
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he worked for the railroad, but he was also he played keyboard. He played organ actually. And my dad tells a story about way back then. They used to have to crank the bellows, you know, to get air in the bellows instead of those foot pedals. And my dad would crank the bellows while he played the organ. So,
oh man,
yeah, really cool. And but you know, and he also played bass, stand-up bass for the Roanoke Symphony way back when.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was cool.
Well, it's clear that your family has a lot of connections.
Yeah,
I mean,
lot of
here
connections.
in Roanoke. I mean, obviously with 15 kids too.
Yep.
So
Yep. Certainly does help. And who knows what they had to do to like find my first piano teacher or, you know.
do you remember your first?
Yeah. Her name was Mrs. Nelson. And just a couple blocks away from our house, I remember walking there through an alleyway, and she was an old lady with there were two old ladies that kind of lived together, and she was just this strict but quiet lady who just expected the best out of you at all times. But little did she know that I was playing by ear most of the time, because I had a great ear, and then. Well, I'll tell you that story a little bit later. Let me get back to my family members who played. You know Dave Fig, Dave and Jean Fig? Have you ever heard of that?
I know the name.
They were in the jazz business, and they had a band, so they were part of our family too as well. So that was one community. Of course, the family. So the next one is the church family.
Yeah.
Okay. So my real first experience with sacred music as a child and then the beginnings of contemporary folk music in my teens was at church. So OLN, Our Lady of Nazareth, has always had an energy about it.
That's true.
About the worship that certainly had an impact on my spirituality and professional life.
And to just state before you even do, it's not like other Catholic churches, and I'll just say it that way. And the music has a lot to do with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
it always and it sounds
important.
like you're paralleling that and saying that's true since you were there.
Well, it's certainly been a reflection on those who were there before me.
That's fantastic.
Okay, so like Joseph Roy, and also having like Monsignor Lehman there who trusted me in handling the music at the church. So when I was a kid, I would hear this folk music that was kind of energetic and different from sacred music. So that kind of inspired me, but I didn't know that at the time. You know, there was like planting seeds in my brain and in my heart spiritually, you know. So that was kind of cool, but little did I know that I would ever be playing music there, ever. Yeah. You know, because there's always a time in people's lives when they just kind of leave the church for a little while, especially in like your college years.
Yeah.
And I did that, but every time I'd come home to church, the music director at the time knew me, and they would just pull me in each time.
They know your grandfather as well?
They, no, well, Sister Anne Marie Canary probably knew.
Okay.
But
is it well known in the church that there's that lineage?
Not by everybody.
Okay.
No, but the people who have been there a long time, they certainly know.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
No, that's a good question because it is a reflection. The way he as a director is and the way he pulls people in. And I'll use my brother as an example. When he's in town, he's like, get Corey and let's get him to play. And like, that's really, and it's not about the showmanship or or boasting or the talent. It's about, hey, come here. You're welcome and play.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the community of the church, I mean, who are you going to pull from, right? I mean, how many people have I heard from who said, well, I hired this musician or that musician from just out in the world,
Right.
Because they wanted a certain quality of music, or, they didn't want to spend a lot of time with teaching notes and all that kind of stuff, where I felt like I had to draw from our church. So I rarely looked outside. But on another note, Our Lady of Nazareth has a lot of talent, a whole lot of talent. Yeah.
I was going to say 4,000 members. Well, at least
close to that.
4,000. It's close to that. It's been off and on throughout years. That's the number that's always kind of stuck with me. You're gonna find some
Mike Roanoke.
Mike Roanoke. Yeah.
Mike Roanoke. That's cool because it mirrors what we got going on here. So much talent in the valley.
Oh yeah.
And then so you take that microcosm of it, and you're like, gosh, there's a lot of talent. And
yeah, and then you had mentioned Tim Gallion in the schools.
Yep.
So that's another whole resource for music people to draw from. So I found out about Travis and his brother probably from schools. I mean, what was your remembrance?
Greg Denton was my middle school teacher. I had just started lessons with Craig Sams, and I got asked by my friends to play drums, and I did and started learning. And then, just you had heard about me through the grapevine and just knew that I was there. But I was pretty heavy participant in the youth stuff back then too. But I would always prefer to do the choir stuff. So.
Yeah, and I mentioned Monsignor Lehman, Joe Lehman. I asked him early on, I said, what do you think about drums in the church, during Mass? And he said, and he thought about it, and I said, we can control the volume.
You said that?
Yeah.
I said that.
Before he responded?
Yeah, before he responded. Well, he was kind of, hedging a little bit. And I said, we can control the volume. And he said, I'm okay with that. And we got that first Yamaha
drum set. I still have it.
Yeah, you still got it?
I still have it.
So now we're on our third drum set. It's a Roland. It's an awesome set.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's really great. So
and they control my volume.
But once that happens,
somebody's got to.
Somebody has to.
It's like one of the things I say. I didn't say it. Field of Dreams said it. Build it, and they will come.
Yeah.
So early on, I started writing parts for people who wanted to play, because the publishers weren't offering parts at that time. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, especially for sacred music.
Yeah. Unless it was a huge work, but for some of the small stuff, the Catholic publishers weren't writing parts. So I did that.
Wow.
And I did it for clarinets and flutes.
You did it a lot for the big liturgical masses, the Easter, the Christmases.
Oh, yeah. And then we're probably getting into another area, but
sure.
That's all.
Well, that's what happens on Beats, Brews, and Buddies. We just jump around.
Well, and that's kind of why I have notes, but let me move on, if that's okay.
Please do.
All right. The next group I was involved in was a community, was Sing Out Roanoke Valley, and it was basically a community of teens from around the valley. All in high school, and we did very positive, upbeat music. It was, musicians, singers, dancers, so it was cool. We'd play at the Hotel Roanoke for youth, like I think it was called DECA or something. It was some like really positive youth organization, like bringing up leaders as youth, and we did a lot of nursing homes and things like that, but Festival in the Park and all these outside gigs, and so that was really cool. That was my first experience of being in a large group of people. So had a lot of friendships there. First love, all this stuff,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Here we go.
No, I told you I wasn't going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
So.
We do ask. We're like, is there anything you don't want to talk about?
Yeah. So, and then the educational community, schools and all that
You were a
stuff.
teacher for a while.
Yeah, I taught in Roanoke City schools and also Franklin County schools.
Okay.
But all of my assignments were long-term substitute positions because that was the only way
That's
in
right.
at
That's
the
right.
time. And I was kind of balancing that between construction work and teaching.
Little
Construction.
little piecemealing, as I call
Yeah.
it.
I still don't fully understand. What trade? What trade in construction?
Oh, well,
was your-
we built houses from the ground up. So
Okay, it's a little bit of everything.
from the concrete work all the way up. Yeah. So I did that for a few summers.
That's handy stuff to know.
It is. I finished my basement because
You
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You know that I
Yeah.
do a lot of my stuff, and
You
Jeremy
do.
does a lot of his stuff, and
Yeah.
it is a handy trade for sure.
So musicians, construction.
There is a lot of starting of groundwork with the foundation.
Yes.
For sure.
So, but in school, I can talk about schools and stuff. But I went to Roanoke College and had a great community there with the staff. Ann Herod Sinclair was my first real voice teacher, and she had to deal with this speech impediment that I have. I have a short, soft palate, so I have kind of a nasal tone to my speaking.
Okay.
So it took her literally 2 years to kind of fix those problems.
Okay.
All right, and that was tough because I was singing in
How
high
old?
school.
How old were you?
I was in college, so
college.
18, 19.
And they just diagnosed or determined.
No,
that
I
there was-
took speech lessons
Oh,
when
for
I
a
was a
long time?
kid.
Okay.
Not for a long time. Just I got ridiculed and
Sure.
I
I didn't know that, Dan.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's all part of who I am. So at some point I had to just accept that.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'll do whatever I can to fix those issues phonetically or physiologically and just move on. So that was one thing I had to deal with, and I had really severe acne when I was a kid. So, none of that stuff, and that's when my dad came in and he took control of that stuff and went to Duke University. I went there and talked to the head dermatologist there. I mean, so there were all these things that probably everybody has to overcome, to do anything in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and music for me was that thing,
That comfort zone.
and that thing that got me out in front of people. And
so not just your personal solace because you love music, but it got you ready to engage the public. So it's, and I don't mean like go present yourself. Hey, here I am, but to be in public, to not have any sort of social anxiety or
So it was all part of that.
That's
and,
crazy.
And that took a lot of hard work, just to get through all that.
Yeah.
But this voice teacher, Miss Sinclair, she believed in me, and she felt like I had enough of talent to make it worthwhile. I mean, obviously I was paying her, but
but it just takes
she
one.
took it on as a teacher. As you find what is that thing, that talent or that spark that teachers lock into to foster, to build, to grow. So
I often wonder if wait, here I go again.
Get them.
Well, I just wonder if teachers are aware that how necessary that is these days. I mean, they have a lot to deal with. I don't think they're paid enough. And before we drive down that road, that socioeconomic road, when I'm teaching someone, I look for what they're good at, and that's where we're going to start. I'm going to make it a positive experience one way or the other. And that can bridge itself into social anxiety or so many psychological factors that have nothing to do with the art itself.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's listening right now, that's important.
Yeah,
Like,
especially if you're a teacher. If you're a teacher, you need to hear that.
Look for the light.
Yeah.
Yep.
And start there.
Yep, for sure.
Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
No, that's cool. So education, I mean, we'll get into the other part of that a little bit later, maybe. But And then it was Up With People. Up With People came about because the music that we did in Sing Out Roanoke Valley was Up With People music. So it was the international stage of Sing Out, basically. So they came into town. I auditioned for them, and they said, first of all, you're a male, you're a musician. So those were two good things. And, that I was a piano player, So I dedicated that whole year to just being a pianist. That was all I was going in for, even though I was a vocalist, because I felt like I needed to work on my piano skills. And I got in. I sent an audition tape, and I got in. So we started our staging in Arizona. We took a whole month to learn a 2-hour show and full production, lights, sound, staging, costumes, dancers. We had a 10-piece band, so it was really cool, with horns and everything, which was kind of my dream. I mean, I love horns in a band. So that, and then they found out that I could sing, so they gave me a solo in the show. So I mean, these opportunities, again, I had an opportunity to join another community to broaden my musical horizons, So that was cool, and the people that were there were also mentors.
So how, I know you're talking about your history, and I don't want to interrupt, but like, how important is that for you as a teacher? How important are those communities for you as a teacher?
Well, it's huge, because I mean, all of those experiences, teachers have to use that to kind of share that knowledge with their students. So I mean, I can think of a couple of students, Oliver Delato.
Yep.
And of course, Dominic, God rest his soul.
Yep.
These kids, man, they just had it. These guys played in
2 local drummers,
DCI guys, and but what I saw in you and what I saw in Corey, and I mean, there's so many, and Ryan, of course, here. Ryan was playing at 9 years old.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, that's kind of my point of bringing up that question, is not many people at that age get that opportunity. And I'm not sure if it's a church thing or whatever, but like, I know that was a youth thing, and I still see that. I still see that opportunity. You even let me bring in some of my old drum students to fill in for me, which is really cool. Yeah. Drew Miller. And now we've got Caroline Metter.
Who was the other guy?
Liam, I want to say, no, it's all right. Sorry. No, there was another young man that we brought in.
Yeah.
And there was a kid in the children's choir that I've taught.
Yep.
For Caleb.
Yep.
So I mean, it is cyclical, which is kind of why I asked that question.
Right. The last area was just bands. All the bands that I've been in. Bands are communities.
Yeah.
Okay, so
touch upon that, because that's one of my questions.
Yeah. So as musicians, we need to get along with a lot of people, and or at least make the effort. If you want to make good music. Okay, so all of the experiences that I've had with bands have been very positive. I mean, there's always a couple things that come up. After, and no offense against drummers, but after the 5th drummer change in this band in California, the 5th, and it wasn't me who was firing these people, it was someone else, I'd had enough, so that's when I left the band.
Yeah.
And I've left a couple bands because of other opportunities that I had. And no offense against drummers. No, it's just the fine dynamic of this, because I've heard of this, like bass players, guitar players. I've heard this, keyboard players, right?
Yeah,
right.
we can be hard to handle too. So, but anyway, the community of the bands, like House of Schmidt. I mean, that was probably the longest run I've ever. I mean, that was a long run, 7-8 years. With one band. That's amazing.
And that was the longest for you?
Oh yeah, for me. Yeah. How about you?
So you were in short stints and lots of members has been. This is what I'm kind of
pretty much with House of Schmidt. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, with all your other groups too.
With all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other groups too, the
So
California.
it could
group.
be me.
No, we're not saying that. I wanted to expose the fact that you have played in groups larger than 5 or 6 people,
Yeah.
and you've done that for a long time. Now, House of Schmidt aside, you did that in California and did that with the other group.
Sing out up with people.
Yeah, and that's the idea of having, one, to manage that, and 2, participate in that, and it's mind blowing to me. Not only because I've experienced it and I've managed and did it with you guys with House of Schmidt, and we had a blessed run of 8 years, and I wouldn't take anything back from that. I mean, I got to play with a mentor, 2 mentors, and then my best friend. And so like, there's nothing more beautiful than that. If for 8 years. And so I think, to kind of segue into one of my other questions, is that how do you manage the bigger choirs and the groups that are larger now in your life? I mean, you're not our first choir director. We had Brian Holt on, who was our orchestra director, and he's orchestra director at First Baptist, and Maestro Wiley is obviously of the Roanoke Symphony. But what have you learned from leading and being a part of these bigger groups?
Well, when I first took when I was leading Sing Out Roanoke Valley, I mean, I'd been in the group for 3 or 4 years, so the elders, the people who were kind of managing the group, they get the shows. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. I just had to make sure it happened. So we chose music, tried to stay current, not just up with people music. I mean, we did like Doobie Brothers, listen to the music. We did Kiki D. I got the music in me. I mean, we did stuff like that. Upbeat, positive stuff. And I did a lot of arranging back then because I was in college at the time, and I took arranging. And but anyway, that was the first time I was really in charge of a group. And I did learn a lot because, you got to deal with that whole dynamic of who sings the solos. That was a huge one.
Delegating.
Like, who's on the mic groups, all that kind of stuff. And I would have to delegate, but I had a lot of trouble delegating as a young man.
I get that. I did that. I had trouble with you guys with House at times. But,
Sure. And I think it's a normal thing.
So when we reconnected, I don't know how long ago it was. Probably a couple years, but not. It's been happening more lately.
Yeah.
It's been so. This is a podcast about music, right?
Yeah,
for the most part in Southwest Virginia.
Yeah,
but I can say that Travis has wanted to work more on that. And whether you put it into words or not, it's like leadership is a part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
you might not be the best musician in the room, but might be the leader. You might not have the loudest instrument, but might be the leader. So there's this whole chemical correspondence that someone has to mitigate, and he's been so actively concerned. So it's just brilliant because that it's that important. You've been working on it, and you've been doing it for so long. It's a thing. It is a whole thing. We could have a podcast on that alone.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring that out because Dan he's an example of that. I mean, I see it not only at choir and at church, but I saw it with House of Schmidt too. I saw how he would assist me and push me along in certain manners. Maybe we butted heads a time or two, but it's just the way we communicate. And I think communication is such a big variable for those group leaders out there. And I'm looking at the camera purposely. You have to learn to communicate. You have to learn to be open and talk with your fellow members. And that's so, I can't imagine how you do that with a choir of 20.
Well, with the church choir, I mean, you deal with the people that God sends you.
Yeah, and they're volunteers, right?
And they're all
that.
volunteers, and they come with good feelings. They come with all the baggage that they're dealing with. I mean, people come to church for a reason. It's not just about making music.
Sure.
It's about getting healed, somehow. And so we deal with that that's why I'm called a minister of music. I'm not a true minister, as the word says it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
I administer whatever I can to get these people involved and to let music be the vehicle. Okay, so that in itself can be tough because people come, they might not be the best singers or musicians, like you said, but together, cohesively, we make beautiful music together, and I'm not, that's not another pun or anything. I'm just like,
I didn't read music when I started with you.
Yeah.
I didn't read it well.
Yeah.
I play by ear, and
I did too, Travis.
I know, but I still do. I still do. Like I feel like some of the guys are like, you never show up to practice. It's like, I'm sorry. I just show up to
it's
play.
not just you, but
no, I know. I know.
And that's me giving them a pass because I trust what they do and their talent. So a lot of my musicians don't come to rehearsal because we do a lot of the same music for one thing. We learn some new stuff, but it's kind of standard.
It is.
They're standard tunes. But at the same time, I will work with people who need a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like flute players or whoever,
I'm totally exposing that right now.
Yeah.
I keep talking about it because that's the whole point. I want people to know that there are different musicians with different journeys and different walks of life that are out there that have had these beautiful stories like you have that are willing to share and say, hey, this is another way you can do it.
Yeah. And it's a trust thing, first and foremost. But at the same time, I have to be willing to spend that time with those people. And I think that is part of my ministry.
Yes.
So if I can get somebody to dust off that bass that's been sitting under the bed for years and come in and say, I want to play bass, I say, cool, great, can bring it, And that's the way it was with Robbie, one of my best friends. And he said it just changed his life when he started playing again. So when you hear things like that, you're like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be, right? And I'm looking up in the heavens. If you can't see me. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Cameras are fun.
Yeah, they are. So giving people a chance. And I think I really felt that way when I was teaching high school kids or middle school kids how to learn how to play an instrument for the first time. Yeah. You got to like my dad encouraged me when I started playing guitar. Oh, you can do it. Just keep figuring it out, and you'll get it. So the more you can, stroke people and build them up and their talents, if you see something, then that's what we're called to do as teachers, but also as choir directors.
No, I couldn't agree more. That's what you and Jeremy have taught me, and I'm sitting here as the student, in a sense. So let me
you carry it on and you teach other people,
and that's the beauty of it, and that's literally the whole point of this whole podcast. So let me segue into. You've talked a lot about your family already today and in the different communities. Talk to us about what it's like playing with your daughter for a while. She was in House of Schmidt for 8 years. Talk about what it was like to lead. You had your family on several songs in some of your albums. So talk about that. What's it like to be like, this is my music, but you're my family, kind of ordeal.
Yeah, I guess I kind of dragged him into it, Laura, on my first album, Internal Progression, Laura was really young, and on our way to like dropping her off at the babysitter or whatever, we'd listen to the tracks, that we'd recorded. And she'd hear it, and she'd pick it up right away. And she was just such a natural, beautiful voice and just spirited. And so I was like, we really need to do more. So I got her to sing on a couple things on the first CD. And the second CD, straight from the book, I heard this song on Prairie Home Companion. You remember that show on NPR?
Yep.
They did a song for towns less than 10,000 people or something, and they featured talent from those towns. And I heard this group, Leilani Clark and her family, and they did this song called "Keeper of My Heart."
Oh yes.
And I was so taken aback by. I was listening to it on the way back from church, and I stood in our driveway and I just sobbed. I was like, man, our family could do this. So I contacted Dan Clark and Val Halloran, who wrote the song, and they said, yeah, you can do it. Just, we need royalties. But so I arranged that version for the second CD. So that song actually in our family is requested at big gatherings.
It is.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been there.
And it's so cool. It kind of draws the family together, and it has that spiritual element.
Not
as well.
many people know that it's a cover, though. You're
It is a
covering.
cover.
So I think
It is a cover.
that's really cool that you give that props out to Dan Clark, right?
Yeah, Dan
So,
and
I mean,
Val.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is a beautiful song, and I've got to play on it. So.
Yeah, he has. So
little bobblehead.
I know I got to play on it.
yeah, but and my wife Donna, I mean, we knew each other in Sing Out.
So I was going to ask that too.
Yeah.
Talk about your journey with your wife, because you met her.
I met her in Sing Out Roanoke Valley. We did not date at the time, and 10 or 12 years later, after California and our college in California, I came back, and I was reunited with her. She had been married, but that wasn't going too well. So we had become friends again, and just ended up getting married. One of the songs we sang, though, in Sing Out Roanoke Valley was Where the Roads Come Together. We did a duet together. So that's kind of our sappy, romantic story about it.
It's still beautiful. It's still beautiful. No, that's great.
But we would sing at weddings and stuff. She's an alto. I'm a baritone, so we blended well together. And so we shared that musical talent together.
I think that's wonderful. And you have 2 albums, right?
Yes.
They're both on Spotify now.
Yes.
They weren't though.
I re-upped.
Did Ryan Hunt help you with that?
No, I re-upped.
Oh, good.
I re-upped.
That's good. So check them out, guys.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your music writing process.
Okay.
So you've been recognized in this town for many of your Christian and non-Christian writing music. Your Healing Arts song was, I guess, contemporary, right, to an extent.
Well, Kate Biddle wrote that, actually. I
okay.
just produced
you just produced it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've produced those things too. So talk to our listeners about your writing process and what's that like for you. I mean, you've done really big things with the church. I mean, Jeremy read Psalms and feasts and all sorts of beautiful bicentennial things. So talk to us about that.
Okay. Well, I guess you always hear the same questions from from people to songwriters. What comes first, music or text, right? Or melody or chord progression, or inspiration from experiences or relationships, right? You hear that from everybody. And for me, it's been a combo of all these things. As a vocalist, I really focus on the melody, because I want it to be singable, and I want it to be singable for everybody. So not this high stuff for all tenors and for sopranos and stuff like that. So that's one thing. All right. So the melody is key. And I think a lot of that was influenced in me because of all the vocal groups that you see on my timeline. Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young and James Taylor and all these people who used a lot of harmonies and stuff in their writing. So that had a big influence on me. But I would say for the Christian music, of course, textually, I always turn to the Bible, mostly, or if I'd undergone some traumatic thing in my life, if I'd been down a bad road and I had to, change that, so I would reflect on that and I would write about it.
Macklin Mosley was our first guest, and he spoke a lot about life experiences and just how he just wanted to create music that was positive and share with people. And he would consider himself, a Christian hip hop artist, right? Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So once you start writing like that and you start getting a groove, you just kind of I hate to sound like Nashville here, where you have this
there's nothing wrong
cookie cutter kind of
they cut cookies in Nashville.
Oh yeah,
they cut cookies. So I'll do it for you. Y'all know y'all be cutting cookies.
Yeah.
And they taste good.
Oh
Good
yeah.
cookies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're similar.
So you kind of find those progressions and things that work and fit your voice and all those kinds of things, and then you just start writing. and you figure out how to rhyme and all that stuff and how it fits. So that's the first thing, and then the other thing is the orchestration, the production of it all.
Yeah.
You know, and you just need to do a lot of that in the studio or at home or whatever to really get a feel for that. Because my first album, it was so melody driven, you know, like in the instrumentation and the vocals and everything, that the second album was totally different because I wrote it mostly on guitar. I didn't use the keyboard hardly at all.
How much did that, not to digress, how much did that change your, I love playing multiple instruments, not out in public. I've done it.
Yep.
I like, I just don't think the same way from instrument to instrument. There's certain facets of me that think the same, but then when I'm actually doing it, I'm like, well, that it doesn't need anymore. Maybe it needs more than I can do. I discover those things. So how did that writing on guitar
It was huge. Yeah. It was huge. It opened up everything because you weren't like at this same EQ level. I mean, you know, production-wise, you're thinking, oh, that sound's getting covered up because you can't hear it, you know. So, but I like the freedom of playing on guitar, and it just felt like it was a different expression completely.
I would say you're even a different player when you play guitar compared to when you play keyboards, even at church, even now.
I think with keyboard, it's always, for me, it's like keyboard and vocal. It's always been that way for me.
Together?
Always. Yeah. Almost always.
You fold it up into a package, so to speak.
Yeah, because that's what I do.
I mean, you say that, and that's kind of some of my first fondest memories of you is being at church is like you sang behind a piano, and that's what you did. You did it even, I mean, you did all the Psalms. There was no cantors back in the day, or not many from what I remember. It was you. And so I was like, oh, dang, Keeley's up there singing.
Well, and I kind of had that head trip when I first started because, I mean, you get a gig like that. You're at a church and you're doing what you love to do, and you're like, oh, wow, man, this is really cool, you know? But when it came to why I was there, what was the reason I was there, is to get other people to sing.
Yeah, but you've done that.
I know.
You've done
well,
that.
That's what I'm saying, though. That is really my MO, my modus operandi for the church. Yeah, I said that.
Yeah. Paused us. You paused us.
We have to get people to sing. You know, that's the way they worship. It's not a show. And I think that's a fine line that we have
Jeremy and I have been talking recently about how music is a language, and it's a universal language, and that language is what, we're not talking about that?
I'm just behaving over here.
No, and I feel like whether it's church setting or at a bar setting, it's still a language, and it still speaks to people in a multitude of ways, whether it's emotional, spiritual, what have you. And I think you've done that. I mean, you got me out of my shell, and now I'm a cantor. I mean, and a cantor, for those that don't know.
If you say cantor one more time without telling people.
I know, sorry. So a cantor.
It's not a horse.
No, go ahead. Do you want to explain what a cantor is? So a cantor is in the Catholic liturgy, or the Catholic Church. It is the lead singer of the psalm, and then of the verse of the Alleluia. Yeah. And so it might be a leader or a solo artist within another song or two, but it is you are in charge of leading vocally.
Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for saying cantor and not.
No, I was loving it. It's cantor and modus operandi coming out. I'm like, we're getting
Latin chant. You want some of that?
Yes, I do. What did you sorry, Dan, what did you say before what Travis just said? It had to do with worship, because that's really what you're there to do. You're coming to worship. It's not. You're kind of speaking to that. It's not just a performance.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm trying to remember what you said.
He was talking about bringing people to that and bringing people out of their comfort zones and shells to.
Well, yeah. Like I said, my main job is to get people to participate musically in the service. Mm-hmm. Because that's another expression of prayer.
Yes.
Prayer, and St. Augustine says singing is praying twice, because you're using your gift, but you're also praying the words as well. So, and that's what we're called as musicians in the church to do. So, sure, we can feature people here and there as solo artists or whatever, or as instrumentalists. And we do that, you know. So that's part of the arranging that I do kind of on the fly sometimes, right, Ryan? We do that a lot.
I just thought of this. Cindy, do you ever get flack for being in a bar band like House of Schmidt playing out?
No.
And being
not in a Catholic church, man.
That's true.
Come on.
When most of the band is from our choir.
It's true. No, it's half of us were for sure. I just didn't know. I didn't know because you were the leader in that setting, and then you would go out and to that other setting.
Actually, I never thought I would be playing in a band again after I was, married and got the church job, because I actually quit a band when I got the church job. That was Four on the Floor.
I
saw that.
I saw that on the timeline.
Yeah.
I just saw that.
So
they become three on the floor.
No, they found someone else, but
the only dad joke of the night. I promise.
I wish there was a ching on
He's
there.
like, no, there were 17 people in the band, and I was in charge.
Yeah, I mean, and I just felt like I really had to concentrate on the church job, because I was getting home at 2:00 in the morning and then having to wake up at 6 and do 3 services on Sunday, and I was just, no, I can't do it. And so anyway, in that long stretch of time where I wasn't doing much of anything except writing and helping other people, I got this call from Travis saying, you mind sitting in with us for a couple gigs? And that was 8 years ago.
It was. So Corey left.
He could be a little tractor beam. I
really wish there was a sound on here. Perfect. Crickets. Perfect.
Is that a cricket or a bird?
I don't know. Maybe. Either one.
So once that happened, and I borrowed equipment from Mike, and I mean, I was being called at the time because we didn't have Ryan playing keyboards at the time. As a keyboardist, you had to figure out all these sounds, and with the new technology and working with a new laptop and MIDI controllers and all this stuff. I mean, I would spend hours working out this stuff.
Homework had to be done, right?
Yeah, and I just felt like, and now I have to rehearse on Sunday afternoon after playing in the church for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
it paid its toll in the right ways.
It did. And I would just come here tired.
No, and I get it.
But at the same time, what I liked about House of Schmidt was that we all came prepared to rehearsal.
Yeah.
There was none of this, I need to work on it. Maybe once in a while, but rarely.
What I've learned on this podcast is that most other groups of bands practice a whole lot more than House of Schmidt ever did.
Well,
it was more regularly. It's almost weekly, and we didn't do that. We did twice a month if we were lucky. And so you almost had to, in that sense, to come prepared.
Because we're professionals.
Yeah.
So
I'm having a good time. I got nothing to say.
So my one of my final questions, maybe not my final, but
that is a lie.
I know. I know. Stop. Okay, right. So we want to talk about this valley and what this valley brings. So I want you to compare and contrast your travels to California and the gigs that you played there to what you've played here, and how has this valley shaped you and your musical career, and what it's offered and what it's given you.
All right. Well, the whole California scene. I mean, that was in the mid '80s, right? So gigs over there were week-long gigs. I mean, you were in a bar for 6-7 days, 6-7 nights. So you learned your music and you just played it on a regular basis, and you got to be really consistent with your performance.
So same set every night?
Well, no, we'd switch it up.
Oh, okay.
But that part of it.
My anxiety went from like a level 0 to a level 4 with you saying switching it up. I'm not used to that.
Just now?
No, and
just because
band members would take turns with the set list. It wasn't just one leader. So we all kind of took charge at times. Okay. So that was cool.
Sure.
We had agents for a while, and then we kind of managed it ourselves. But once you got into that circuit, your name got out there, and you were drawing people in, and you had a following. You were set. But again, 5-6 nights a week,
It's a lot.
staying in one place.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So that was kind of the vibe, the way things were in the mid to late 80s.
Did you at least get to keep your stuff there at that place?
Yeah,
And,
we kept it there.
God.
Kept it there. I lost my guitar at one place.
You had a guitar?
Yeah.
You had a guitar.
Yeah.
guitar.
Ryan, you want to say something about a guitar?
Get that-
Guitars are the bomb.
Yeah.
They get all the chicks.
I love guitars.
It was cherry red, and
It had to
it
be.
was awesome, man.
It's like the Ferrari of
Yeah.
all instruments.
But while I was out in California, I mean, the whole, you played covers mostly. All right, you rarely played originals.
This is with reel to reel or
Reel to reel, so REEL to REAL. That we thought that was kind of cool.
It is cool.
And it was just a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And, after that was the band that we had 5 drummer changes.
Okay.
And I think people wanted to move on. They got tired or they got bored. But we kept on going. So that group lasted about 3 years.
Was that was life for you though? So was that did
That
that
was
pay,
my-
did that pay well?
Yes.
Okay.
It did pay well.
I know that's personal, but I'm
No.
asking.
It was enough to, afford an apartment and eat.
Yeah, right.
Eat away
eat.
from the venue?
Yes, away from the venue.
Not being fed
and
there.
not
Hey,
drinking at the venue.
That's a thing.
No, it is. It's important.
That's the thing. I'm waiting for somebody to come in here, and it might be me right
Yeah.
now. Take your flask and eat there.
Yeah.
It hasn't been said once on this podcast, but if you're trying to climb that ladder before you slide down, take your flask and eat there and plan it out.
But the cool thing about that whole California gig was, again, community. The guy who I bought my DX7 from, by the way, DX7 was just coming out.
The DX7.
I still have it. I
You
still
still have a
it.
DX7?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a musician named Mike Keeley?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Let's talk about that after.
Okay. All right. The music store guy had found out that I was in another band because his nephew played in the first band I was in, which was called the West Coast Band, which was terrible. I mean, it wasn't a bad band. I'm just saying the name was terrible. West Toast.
Yeah. It is terrible. I'm glad you said it.
Of course,
first.
I'm over here laughing at it.
But we were probably a garage band for most of our time. And but one thing led to another. The band split up. Somebody called the music store, any keyboard players. Oh, yeah, by the way, this guy. And got me hooked up with this new band.
So what sent you out there? What made you go out there?
The drummer in Up With People. Him
Okay.
and I became really good friends. His name is Rod Hicks, and now he lives in Richmond.
Okay.
So he came over here because he fell in love with a Virginia girl who was in Up With People.
Those Virginia girls.
They'll
Yeah.
get you. They'll get you.
Yeah, so we're still really tight, and we had a great time together in a band, but it just wasn't meant to be. And you know it. You probably, Jeremy, I don't know. You get to a point where you're just like, nah. This isn't,
That's the best reaction. Nah, love you, but
this
nah.
isn't working.
That's the most eloquent way to put it.
Yeah, no, it is. That's,
Yeah.
And for musicians out there that might be at that point, man, because letting go is an action.
Yeah.
It's not just so when you say, "Hey, let's just let go." No, letting go takes practice. You have to practice letting something go, and especially if your heart's in it. It could be a relationship, it could be a band, could be your educational trajectory. Letting go is hard, but you learn a lot from it, and you get better at noticing when it needs to happen.
That's because it requires self-reflection,
Yes.
and self-reflection is very tough. Well, I'm gonna
Well,
parallel it with.
Let me
with
just say
no,
one last
please
thing,
do.
because when I quit Reel to Reel, I'd had enough with the drummer thing and reteaching people different things. But
So much.
I went to go see him after they got a new keyboard player. Well, this guy was 100 times better than me. And that's the humbleness of it all. As a musician, where you like everybody is replaceable.
Yeah. No, except
1,000%.
Yeah.
Everybody's replaceable. And you said something else that I generally like to go see bands that I have once played in, and no harm, no foul.
No.
It usually extends far beyond your ability as a player. A lot of the music played isn't the most difficult stuff to play. A lot of the music that people want to spend their money to come see is not the most difficult. Now, I'm not saying it's not brilliant, but a lot of people can do it, and they can do it in their own ways. It's not ability most of the time. And it's these other factors we talk about here. And if you just go show your love, like if you were in that band, there was something there, go see it. So I'm glad you went to see him. I go see every band I've either quit or I've only been fired once.
And they asked me up to do a song. I mean, it's not like we were parting ways, I mean, badly. But I was just like, hail to the new keyboard player, man. He's awesome. And I just felt like, okay, this is the life of being a musician in California. There are so many people out there who can just take my place.
We've talked about that, and it's almost become a ongoing theme on the show is like, when is it okay to say no, and when is it not? And so, like for me with you, I found it really beautiful when I was at the point of being done with House of Schmidt. You were like, well, I'm also done, and it's okay. And like that, I needed to hear that. Yeah, I needed to hear that not only as a leader, but as hear that from my mentor too. Like, it's okay. I'm at a point where I was gonna bow out sometime in whatever that future was, right? And so, like, those are things you learn from people, and that we have to take into consideration as we continue to grow as people and as musicians in this town, because there wouldn't be that kind of music. There's not going to be the next if you don't learn.
Sure.
So.
Well, and also I have to give a huge shout out to my wife, Donna, for all the time she's been at home twiddling her thumbs or watching whatever, and and just letting me be who I'm supposed to be. And it's tough on a marriage to always be doing what you want to do and not trying to do things together. Even though music kind of brought us together, it kind of had moments where it could tear us apart.
We should have a round table of just spouses.
Spouse table. So I was sitting here debating making a pretty like a power move. I wanted to like grab Travis and say, every time someone brings us up organically, actually take that moment and say, because I wouldn't be doing this without Leilani, and you can say the same thing.
Same without Victoria.
And saying it 100%. Is not enough. Doing that is not enough.
No.
And just because publicly someone might hear that we are taking the time to say, hey, thank you, we couldn't do this without you, that's not enough. You have to honor it at home. And I wouldn't, and it has been a source of issue.
Sure.
And I think, at least in my situation, we've both grown, and I'm so much happier doing what I feel like I was called to do, that I'm a better man at home. And it's taken her a while I don't want to say taking a while to see it, but to maybe fully embody it and understand it. And when I'm better at home, we're better. And then I have no issue doing the same for her.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't.
I agree.
You can't.
I agree.
So anyway, every time that's mentioned organically, we need
we need to be like, yay,
you're
awesome.
We need a support button.
You know
here.
what was cool about House of Schmidt though? We had a housewives. We call them HAUS. We had a housewives little group, and they took care of each other too, and that was important as well. That that community of women and one male that were our counterparts. They spent time and hung out and like had shirts.
We certainly recognized
them. We recognized them every gig, and you were really great about that.
I bet they was talking trash.
Maybe they were. Maybe they were.
Yeah.
So Dan, thank you. Thank you for this.
Gosh.
So we're gonna hit you with
hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead, son.
Because you
did I miss one?
No. I'm gonna give you a little credit. So we've been a little long. Long-winded.
Yep.
Which is fine. But you combined two questions a while back, and then you segued in that last one beautifully.
Thank you.
Come on, a little interviewer you are.
Well,
I wasn't gonna let that go.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. So at this point in the series, where, you know what, I gotta say, this is episode 12, which is halfway through for us. We're gonna do 24 a year, and we're booked. So thank you for being halfway through, Dan.
Thanks for asking.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for asking.
We're already booking into next year.
Yep. So continue to holler.
If you're listening, and share the podcast. We're really trying to create a larger, more full awareness of the musicians in the Valley.
Yep.
Share it. And if you're one of these, hater musicians, cool.
Come on up.
But share it.
We'll have fun.
But we're just trying to. We have such a community here, and we just want to expose it.
We also don't want you to be scared. Don't be scared. We're not gonna. We literally ask every person that we interview what they're comfortable with talking about and what not, and so we respect that, I think, as well. So,
and if you don't, trust me, I love to hide. It's only been of late that I actually want to
hide more.
Foster young people. I don't want to hide more. Foster young people, play more. I thought that would go away as I got older. That's not the case. I want to play more because I feel more spiritually connected to what music is and what music does to other people. Cool. But if you are one, we have some talent in this town that stays hidden, and I'm going to not call anybody out. Stay hidden. That's fine too.
Yep.
But we want to just expose this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant. We got a lot of cool stuff going on here.
So we're at the point, and I know you've listened to the show. So welcome to the Buddy Gauntlet, my friend. Welcome to the Buddy Gauntlet. Yes. Get 'em, Jeremy Price.
Top 3 influences of your musical career.
Top 3.
Three
We gotta
only.
We got to put a timeline on this. 1 minute, go.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Good choice.
Young.
With or without Young? That's a question.
That's like onions on a hot dog.
That's tough, man. I mean, nah, you got to have them all 4. I mean, I've been to all their concerts. I mean, I've been to the 3 together and one with Young, and it was equally awesome. Elton John.
Oh man.
Huge influence.
He's the first
me.
guest to say that.
He is. That's shocking.
It really is.
But he's
that's a great. No,
it's
that's a
shocking.
compliment. That's a
no,
compliment,
it is.
so.
In terms of the podcast, it's shocking. In terms of him being a
Pianist and a singer.
Yeah, it's not.
I
shocking.
got you.
No,
That's true. That's
no,
fair.
not at all.
My first love used to say I look like Elton John, and I found it so offensive. But I was like, I love you, but I don't like what you're saying. That was a long time ago. Number 3.
Gosh, this is tough, man.
Yes, it is. That's why it's called the Gauntlet.
You don't get 4.
You don't get 4.
No, sir.
Wait till the drummer roundtable coming up.
Oh, man, that's going to be tough. I don't know, man. The Eagles. I would have to say the Eagles.
Let's do it.
Again, because they're vocals.
They do have beautiful vocals.
Huge
I saw them a
vocals.
few years ago in 2018. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I watched the Queen documentary on Netflix the other day.
Oh my god,
Your boys can sing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, look at the generation we grew up in, man. I mean,
oh my
it's
gosh,
so hard to choose.
Yeah.
So hard to choose.
Let's give ourselves kudos for House of Schmidt because you put in a lot of work with the harmonies.
Vocals, yes.
And we had crushing harmonies all across the board. I would say
Ron helped too.
The best in Roanoke at the time. You can come at me if you want.
Yep.
Well, all right. Controversy.
Controversy.
My friend Aaron's going to love this.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my beer, and I've kept it cold this entire time with our Beats, Brews, and Buddies koozies.
Yes.
Soon to be available. So you
Yes,
let us
please.
know. Beats, Brews, and Buddies. It's been cold for an hour and 9 minutes.
dang.
On the dot. Question number 2. Your top non-musical influence.
I'd have to say, what?
One person.
One person.
One person or thing.
Or thing.
Or thing.
Non-musical influence. Well, I'd have to say the church. Even though music was part of it, I found a shelter there. Okay, so even in the midst of trials and tribulations, I could always turn to my faith.
No, find your
Yeah.
shelter, people. Find your shelter, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it may be. That's huge for me.
I like that.
Yep.
Last question is: name one opinion that has changed for you that you used to be dead set on. It doesn't have to be music related, but I like how we grow as people and we can think things and just be planted in opinions, and then one day go, I don't feel that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think telling people those things encourages them to do the same. Not that we all need to, but growing is changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I know I like certain things in my life to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like that routine of
Yeah.
things, and you know, my wife is always like, let's do something different, you know, and so I've had to let go of that kind of mentality sometimes is that, it's like kind of an unsafe zone for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's referring back to when I was a little anxious about my issues or, the person that I am, or the person that I'm becoming. So, and I think that there's always that struggle. What's the good things that we do and what are the not so good things that we do? So, again, it's kind of that faith struggle too. But for me, with being a part of a large family and not understanding people who have a lot of wants or needs.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about this now because I've
Well, you're talking about flexibility. You're talking about flexibility with schedule, but you're also talking about flexibility with people.
with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've really had to work hard on that because anybody can easily have an attitude about somebody and make assumptions about people.
Or judgment. Right?
Or judgment. So I've been called out about being judgmental sometimes, and I've really had to work hard at that. Because I feel like if people work hard enough, they can achieve whatever they want to.
Yep.
But if they have the wrong mental attitude about something, and this is me talking like I've been through this, dude. You do the work and it'll work out, So I guess I struggle with that a little bit. So I've had to change my mind about being less judgmental and being more accepting.
There you go.
And I'm still with everything going on today, man,
It's tough. It's tough.
I don't agree with that, and either politically or socioeconomically or whatever.
Sure.
But then I have my young daughters who was like, come on, Dad,
Yeah.
get with the times, this is,
Makes you think.
Yeah,
Makes you
totally
think and
makes
makes you take a step back and say, maybe I'm not wrong, but maybe I can see it another way.
yeah, but it is my issue
Sure.
for sure that I've
No,
got.
thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
What
deep
now?
EP. You want to talk about this song we were going to play for you?
Sure, and I think this song is so apropos. There's another word.
Apropos.
Fitting for today's times.
Hold on to Christ.
It's called Hold On to Christ, and you'll hear the words, but it is kind of a real reflection of kind of a mix of all the musical styles. This one's a little reggae, even though I've written like ballads. I've written Celtic music. I've written serious music, chorus. Arrangements, huge arrangements, everything. But this was a lot of fun to make, but the message is pretty serious. So,
Ladies and
enjoy.
gentlemen, Dan Keeley,
Thanks for coming.
my
Dan.
good friend.
Thanks for sharing.
Really
you.
appreciate you guys.
you guys are awesome.
All right. Beats, Brews, and Buddies, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hold On to Christ.
The times we live in challenge us to search for something worth much more. What's happening to us has happened oh so many times before. In politics or war, the sins continue their destructive ways. In the streets, inside our schools, inside our homes, well, inside we need to pray. So as you get down on your knees to offer prayer, God's love won't let you go, so hold on to those who care. Hold on to the things that you believe in. Hold on to all the people in your life that you love. Hold on to the Father God, the Almighty. Hold on, hold on. Hold on to Christ. When things get rough and all you feel is discouragement and pain. When things get tough, we just give up. When there's nothing left to gain. Deep down inside, we have the strength to face all our fears. Don't give up, don't give in, just believe that God will guard you through the years. And when you feel your dreams are just slipping away, tighten up your grip, don't let go of life today. Hold on to the things that you believe in. Hold on to all the people in your life that you love. Hold on to the Father God, the Almighty. Hold on, hold on. Hold on to Christ. Follow me and I will save you from your strife.
Hold on to Christ.
I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life.
Hold on to Christ.
Don't be afraid, for I will calm the roughest seas.
Hold on to Christ.
I gave my life to save your sins and set you free. Hold on to the things that you believe in. Hold on to all the people in your life that you love. Hold on to the Father God, the Almighty. Hold on to the things that you believe in. Hold on to all the people in your life that you love. Hold on to the Father